Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be wrapping up all of the books that I read in the month of September. In the month of September, I read 8 books, which I'm really happy about and quite surprised. It felt like I wasn't having a very productive reading month in September. Like all the way through the month, I was like, oh, my reading's really slow. My reading's very slow. And I guess it was slower compared to August where I read 12 books, but 8 books is still a very good reading month. I think I came through right at the end, like everything just wrapped up really well towards the end of the month. So 8 books coming to a total of 3,446 pages, so pretty solid. And I did DNF one book, so one book I don't know how far I got to it, 15-20%, not very far, and I decided to put it down. So those pages do not count towards these stats. So 4 of the books that I finished were fantasy, 2 were romance, 1 was a sci-fi, and 1 was a mystery. Quite a range of genres for once, not just all fantasy, a whole range. 6 of them were adult and 2 were YA. And then for my star ratings, I had 1 5-star, 1 4.5 star, 3 4 stars, 2 3.5 stars, and 1 2.5 star. So quite a range there as well, but mostly on the positive side of things. I finished 1 series, continued in 3 series, and so my on the go I think is at 28. I do need to double check the spreadsheet, but I do. So yeah, it was quite a positive reading month and I feel quite accomplished now looking back. At the time I wasn't feeling very accomplished, but now I do. I've got like 2 sort of categories and then I have a third sort of random ad hoc things. So we'll start with the romance category. So I did read a couple of romances in September. Guess the mood struck and I listened to that mood. And these I predominantly audiobooked with a couple of moments where I read physically. So I started off the month, and I think it was like the first book that I read in the month was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I do have a like small vlog of me reading this, so it's like a short little thing that I did. If you're interested, I can link that. I found it really fun to film. I'm quite proud of it, okay? So I'll link it. This is a contemporary romance where we follow our 2 main characters, Alexa, who is an ER doctor, and her whole family are doctors, and so she has this sort of like pressure upon her to keep up this mantle of working for this hospital and being a doctor there, and rising in the ranks and having a very high-end career. And then we also follow Daniel, who is from the small town, who is a carpenter there and owns his own B&B. And their paths cross by coincidence, and it is their romance and how their 2 worlds collide. And I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I found their dynamic so fun. I was really rooting for them. I was like, this is really enjoyable. I think our characters are in their like 30s. I was relating to sort of the age group that they were in. It was really working for me, like the pressures that they were feeling outside of their romance felt realistic, and I was really just enjoying the scenes with them together, seeing them in their small town, seeing their relationship form and the bond that they created, and the sort of angst and tension between the 2 of them. So I would really recommend this one, and I'm really looking forward now to reading yours truly, the next book in sort of like, not series, but like this, the companion to this one, because this was so much fun. I was so hooked. I couldn't put it down. I just needed to know how it was all going to like wrap up and end. I mean, you know that with a romance there's going to be like a happily ever after, but I still was like addicted to knowing how it was going to work out. So would really recommend this one. This was like my favorite book of the month. And then because I had such like a high with a romance, I was like, oh, let's like keep going, let's try a few more. So I tried Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This is the book I did not finish, and it was just a big no. It was just a big no for me. Again, I have a little like short thing for it because I was like, I just don't get it. I just don't get the hype for it. So this is like an ice skater romance with the college as a background. And I just really did not get on with it at all. Potentially because I've been out of that, like, not university, I've never, like that university college system for quite a while, and I wasn't relating with that age group and their dramas that they were going through. Everyone just, in the 15-20% that I read, I just did not connect. Like, there was no time where they were on the ice, which is what I wanted. Everyone was sleeping with each other. They were just going to parties. I didn't really root for any of the characters. It was just a big fan no. It was a big no. Everybody seems to be loving it online. Maybe if you're younger, like maybe if you are in that demographic, maybe you'll connect with it more. But I felt as a 29-year-old that I didn't connect with it at all. If I want a nice skating, hockey romance, maybe I'll I'll have to go elsewhere. I'll have to find something else. So then I tried another romance, and I tried The Long Game by Eleanor Armes. This one we're following Adeline Reyes, who is the daughter of a football manager in Miami. And so she works there. Her ambition is to own the team when she grows up. Well, not grows up, but like as she gets older, she hopes that she is being sort of positioned into, she's put herself into a position where her father will promote her into that role when he feels that she is ready and he's ready to retire. And then at the beginning of the book, there is a sort of media catastrophe around her, and so she gets sent to this backwater where she meets our main character, Cameron, who is an ex-football player, and it is them bonding in the middle of nowhere, and the small football team that they are coaching and managing over there. And this was fine. It was very mediocre. I mean, I finished it, but it was very mediocre. Like, I enjoyed the small town vibes. I like that as a vibe. They have this like small sort of children's football team that they are managing, which I found them quite cute. There were scenes in here that I liked, but overall it went from like hate to love very quickly, that they hated each other for ages, then suddenly they were in love. And I wasn't really too fussed with the whole like resolution of things. It didn't really do like loads for me, and I wasn't believing so much in their romance. For me right now, I feel as though The Spanish Love Deception is a sort of one-hit wonder. That one I love. Like, there was so much tension, and I just wanted more tension in this, and it wasn't really there. So those were my romances. Now we will get into my little like sequels section, because I read quite a few sequels. So I read 3 sequels and then also a finale. So of my sequels, one of them was a reread, and that was Starsight by Brandon Sanderson, the sequel to Skyward. And I really enjoyed this one. This lived up to my memories of it. I was a bit nervous going in because I feel as though Skyward always has like the rave reviews. Everybody loves it. I loved it as well. And then the rest of the series goes a bit more lukewarm. But this one I loved on my first read, and I loved it again. I am getting a little bit nervous about the rest of the series because obviously I think Cytonic has the most mixed reviews. But hopefully my love for like Skyward and Starsight will keep me going. So the first book, Skyward, we're following our main character Spencer, who is trained to be part of the space fighter pilots in this world. So her world is being constantly bombarded by this alien force called the Krell, and she wants to train to fight them. However, there is a stigma put upon her due to her father, who in a fight many years ago, he was a coward and fled the battle. And so Spencer has that stigma on her, and the forces that be are refusing for her to enter into the flight school. But yes, I really enjoyed this one. I like the setting that we're in this book, and sort of some of the new characters that we get introduced to. It's just a lot of fun. I find these books so fun. I listened to this one as an audiobook, as it's a reread, and I found the audiobook really fun and engaging to listen to. I read it pretty much over a weekend. I couldn't put it down. I was very addicted to it. I would recommend this series. It's loads of fun. It's loads of fun. And I'm really looking forward to now diving into the novellas and Cytonic. Speaking of Brandon Sanderson, I actually read 2 of his books this month. This one I finished at 9 a.m. on the 1st of October, but I'm going to count that as September. Like, I literally just finished the final little bit in October, but so it is September. And that is Dawnshard by Brandon Sanderson, 3.5 in the Stormlight Archive. So I don't think I'll get to Rhythm of War this year. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it will, but I am making an effort to continue on in the series. So I have read this. This one I read really quickly. I mean, I think like the formatting of it just makes it very easy to read. This really reminds me of Tress of the Emerald Sea, because a lot of the setting on this is ship-based and going on a sort of adventure. So I felt as though there were quite a few similarities. I think I prefer Tress. I mean, I don't know if I should be comparing them, but they're both nautical fantasies written by Brandon Sanderson. I feel like this does stand quite well by itself, that obviously it is set in the Stormlight Archive and it is following characters that we have been introduced to in the Stormlight Archive, but I feel as though it is quite a contained story in a way. It was quite easy to dive into, see what was going on with these characters. And yes, I enjoyed it. I found it quite a lot of fun. I really like the main character that we're following here, Risen. I think she's very engaging to read from. So I enjoyed reading from her perspective and seeing the things that she goes through. Looking forward to getting to Rhythm 4 eventually. But for now, Dawnshard is being done. And then the final sequel that I finished was The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni, the second book in the Prison Healer series. This one was okay. It was fun, but I think it dragged on a little bit in the middle. Yeah, this one would have a change of setting, and due to events at the end of the first book, I felt as though there was some internal dilemmas that our main character was going to face in this one. Those dilemmas go on and on a little bit. A large chunk of this book, she has these dilemmas that she is facing internally, and it felt like it took a very long time for her to come to a resolution on these internal dilemmas, and it's understandable. It's understandable that they would have dragged on a little bit, but I felt as though it became a little bit repetitive for us to read, and for her continuously having these same thoughts and these same dilemmas going through her head repeatedly. So that would be like my main critique of this. I continue to find the writing style engaging. It's quite fast-paced and compelling to read most of the time. That it's very classic in its style. It's very sort of, a very classic YA fantasy. There's sort of a medieval style world with a castle and that traditional fantasy setting. Like if you were told to picture a YA fantasy European setting, that's what you definitely have in here. I enjoyed it for the most part, and I'm excited to see where it gets to. I feel like the ending was pretty climactic with the way that the falling tension unfolded, so definitely intrigued to see where we end up and where this all has built to. And then the finale that I read, so not quite a sequel, but it is a sequel, but sequel finale, was The Labyrinth Heart by M.A. Carrick, the final book in the Rook and the Rose trilogies, the first book being The Mask of Mirrors. So I have been rereading and now finishing this series over the past few months. This one took me a little while to read. I think this is when I felt like September I wasn't really doing very well with my reading because I spent so long reading The Labyrinth Heart. I mean, it is a chunky book. It is over 600 pages, and it's 600 pages of like quite small font. So I think it is understandable that this took me a while. It just took me longer than I anticipated. Like I was meant to be reading this book with Fish and Sam, and they started like 2 weeks before me because I was like, oh, I'll finish Labyrinth Heart by then. No, I was like 2 weeks late with this. The Mask of Mirrors, we're following our main character, Ren, who is a con artist as she tries to infiltrate one of the merchant families in this world. The world is very Venetian inspired. It has a very interesting magic system with tarot cards. And overall, I enjoyed where this where this third book went to. I feel as though there were sort of like 3 books in one, that there was different parts of this and each sort of had like its own sort of rising tension as we went through. I think it did drag a little bit in the middle, that it was a tad long for me. That I had fun with this, and there were definitely some very, very engaging scenes. There was some trials in this towards the beginning of the book, and some of the scenes in those trials was so fun to read. That's what I'd say about these books, that there are definitely highlight scenes that I have in each of the books, but I do think, particularly in the second and third one, there are moments that are a little bit slower and potentially could have been snipped a little bit. I really enjoyed where we got to with all of our relationships in this, so with all our main characters, and seeing how all their relationships have shifted and changed over the course of the 3 books. And I enjoyed the way that this all wrapped up and seeing the full arc of everything. I still think my favourite book in the series is The Mask of Mirrors, but I do think that this is a satisfying conclusion, and I would really recommend the series, especially after sort of like a slower paced, Venetian inspired, sort of intricate fantasy. Very, very satisfied and happy to have wrapped up this series. A short book that I just listened to, again, it was towards the beginning of the month, was Bryony and Roses by T. Kingfisher. So I read Thornhedge in August and absolutely loved it. So I was like, oh, let's read a little bit more T. Kingfisher. Let's try a few more. So I listened to Bryony and Roses. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it was fun. It was fun. I think I've read a few Beauty and the Beast retellings over my time, so I don't feel as though it did like loads differently from like other Beauty and the Beast retellings, but it was fun. It was fun, it was engaging, it was romantic. I was very happy to have read it and enjoyed it. If you enjoy Beauty and the Beast or Beauty and the Beast retellings, then I'd recommend it. I think it's a good one. That's what it is, a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I mean, there are a few twists twists with it, some slight differences, but overall a fun time, a fun listen if you're after if that's what you're after. And then the final, well, I guess, is it the final book? This was the final book that I officially finished in September, with Dawnshard coming in very early in October. I did finish La Verité sur l'affaire Harry Quebert. The Truth About the Harry Quebert Affair. I finished it, I read it, I did it, and I feel so proud of myself. I do. So if you don't know, I am starting a new job tomorrow as of filming this, on the 2nd of October. It's an internal move within the company that I've been working for, and it is a French speaking position. So I've been a little bit nervous because in my previous role I haven't been speaking French. I live in London, so I don't have that many French friends here, or I don't really speak French like daily. I set myself the challenge of reading a book in French over the month. I think I did start this in August and read like maybe 100 pages in August, but I really like knuckled down and I read pretty much every day 30 pages or a chapter of this, and I did it. I finished it on the final day of the month. There were definitely some days where I didn't do it, so I had to make up my pages. It was looking a little bit tight last weekend when I still had like 300 pages to go, and I was like, you really need to like get your act together, Abby, and read this book so that you can finish it by the end of the month. And I finished it yesterday, and I was like, we did it, and I enjoyed it. So, and it's not a small French book. I could have made my life so much easier if I had picked a smaller book, but no, I decided to pick a 850 page book. Like, I didn't pick a small one. I went big with my French book. So this is a book that my partner has read and loved and really enjoyed and recommended to me to read. So this is the English. It does have a TV show adaptation. I'm not sure what streaming service it's on, but there is a TV show. I think it's an English TV show. So this is a murder mystery. So we're following our main character, Marcus, who is an aspiring writer. He has written his first book and he is struggling with writer's block for his second book. So he goes to visit his mentor, Harry Quebert, who is a famous writer. And he's like, I'm really struggling. What do I do? Spend some time with him. Still struggles, goes back home, and then news breaks that they have found the remains of a 15-year-old girl in Harry Quebert's garden. And this was a girl that went missing 30 years ago. And so it has reopened this cold case of her being missing, or now her death, because then her body has now been found. Yeah, and there's lots of twists and turns that we go through as Marcus tries to uncover the truth behind who killed Nola and what went on in 1975 in this rural town in New Hampshire. I really enjoyed it. Like, there was lots of twists and turns, especially the at the end. Like, I felt like the final bit was really, really engaging to read. I think the middle, it was a little bit long. It was a bit long. It could have been cut. It could have been cut, especially around the middle. It got a little bit slow in the middle as we were sort of unearthing lots of different truths. It's just there's a lot of truths to unearth, and it's getting to all of the truth that takes a while. But it was very intriguing. There were some parts that I was like, oh yeah, I got that, and there were some parts that I was like, what? I did not know that. I did not get that. That is okay, clever. I would really recommend this if you're after like a twisty mystery and you're prepared to read a long twisty mystery. It does take a little while to like build, I'd say. It's a builder. It grows. It's like a simmering fire, and then suddenly it's like boom as it gets to the end. And I feel so proud of myself for finishing it and sticking with my plan to have this finished before the end of September. So there we go. Those are all of the books that I read over the course of September. Let me know how your reading in September went and if you have any plans for October. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye.